If you're building web apps in Python, you're probably already using the magic of tools like SQLalchemy, Django, or FastAPI. They let us talk to our databases using native Python code, which is incredibly convenient. But here's the secret. Those high-level tools, they don't actually speak directly to your PostgreSQL database. Not at all. Underneath the surface, they completely rely on a highly specialized low-level driver. And for PostgreSQL, that driver is called psycopg2. So in today's explainer, we're going to pop the hood and absolutely demystify the raw engine that actually makes your favorite Python database tools run.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover under the ORM hood, connections and cursors, security and transactions, production connection pooling, and finally, when to go low level. We're taking you from the familiar abstractions you're used to straight down to the raw metal of database communication. Let's kick things off with Section 1, under the ORM hood. So, when an object relational mapper, an ORM, connects to a database, it has to rely on a dedicated driver. This driver is basically a specialized library that handles the nitty-gritty technical details of talking to one specific type of database. You can think of it as the ultimate translator, the vital bridge connecting your Python application directly to the database itself.
Take PostgreSQL, for instance. It is a wildly powerful, open-source relational database system. Ask anyone in the software industry, and they'll tell you it is incredibly robust and perfectly suited for serious, production-grade applications. Honestly, it's the kind of database you trust with your most critical data, which is exactly why it's become a dominant choice in the modern Python web ecosystem, usually paired up with Django, Flask, or FastAPI.
Now, the crucial point here is understanding this core dichotomy. On one side of the ring, you have an ORM, like SQLalchemy. It lets you express database queries using native Python objects and standard method calls. Super clean. But on the other side, you have psycopg2, where you are literally writing raw SQL completely by hand. Understanding this low-level driver approach is a real game changer, because it clarifies exactly what your ORM is automatically doing for you behind the scenes.
Let's move right into Section 2, Connections and Cursors, and see how this all works in practice. If we decide to bypass the ORM entirely, we just install the package, usually with a quick pip install psycopg2 binary, and we can start talking to the database manually.
And here's the actual chronological lifecycle of communicating with the database using this driver. It boils down to 4 steps: connect, cursor, execute, and commit. These 4 commands form the absolute foundation of any manual database interaction. Let's break down what each one actually does.
First up, you have to establish a direct connection using psycopg2.connect. You pass in your host, the database name, and your login credentials. What you get back is a connection object. This object represents your program's active, ongoing link to PostgreSQL. It's a lot like picking up a phone and dialing the server's number to establish a dedicated open line.
Okay, once you're connected, you move to step 2, creating a cursor. You generate this directly from your connection object using con.cursor. Now, a cursor is a fundamental concept in psycopg2. It's the exact mechanism you use to execute raw SQL statements, like passing the plain Python string select star from users right into cur.execute. Think of the cursor as your delivery vehicle. It drives your command over to the database and eventually carries the requested data right back to you.
Right, so after you execute a query, you need to actually retrieve your results. The cursor gives you 3 main methods for this. Fetch1 gets you guessed it, just a single row. Fetchmany grabs a specific number of rows that you define, and fetchall just grabs every remaining row all at once. And remember, each of these rows generally comes back formatted as a Python tuple, with the values sitting in the exact order you requested the columns.
Which brings us to Section 3, Security and Transactions. When you drop down to writing raw SQL yourself, the training wheels come off. You are entering a high-stakes reality where you are entirely responsible for the security and the state of your database.
Which obviously leads to a pretty critical question. Why exactly is raw SQL so dangerous? Well, if you need to include a dynamic external value in your query, say a user-provided email address, you should absolutely never directly concatenate that value straight into your raw SQL string. Doing that leaves your app wide open to SQL injection. That's a super common attack where a malicious user crafts input designed to hijack your query. It's exactly like that classic internet joke about little Bobby tables, where a cleverly formatted input completely drops your entire student database. Literally a nightmare.
So the solution here is parameterized queries. Instead of concatenating strings, psycopg2 lets you use placeholder markers right inside your query string. Then you pass your actual external values separately as a distinct argument to cur.execute. When you do this, psycopg2 handles all the necessary escaping and safe insertion entirely on your behalf. This pattern is exactly why high-level ORMs are inherently safer by default. They are doing this parameterization for you automatically under the hood. Now, once you safely execute a query that actually changes data, like an insert, update, or a delete, you have to manage that transaction. Your changes do not become permanent until you specifically call con.commit. But what if something goes wrong before you commit? Well, you can just call con.rollback. This safely undoes any pending uncommitted changes, making sure your database always stays in a valid, consistent state. It's basically your ultimate undo button for when things break mid-operation.
Moving right along, let's explore Section 4, Production Connection Pooling. It's one thing to open a quick connection for a tiny script on your laptop, but it is an entirely different challenge to manage database connections at scale in a real-world, high-traffic application.
The crucial point here is efficiency. Creating a brand new database connection for every single incoming web request is incredibly slow, and it can completely overwhelm your database server if a spike in traffic hits. Connection pooling is the fix. It maintains a small, defined set of already open, active connections that just sit there, ready to be reused. So rather than opening and closing a new connection every single time, your app just borrows an active one from the pool. It's a lifesaver, and thankfully, both psycopg2 and Alchemy provide built-in support for it.
And this brings us to our final part, Section 5, When to Go Low Level. We've seen exactly how psycopg2 works, but as a developer or an architect, you're eventually going to face a dilemma. When should you actually choose to write raw psycopg2 over just using a convenient ORM? Well, look, even if you stick to an ORM for your day-to-day work, having this low-level knowledge is an absolute superpower. Understanding this layer helps you write considerably more efficient SQL Alchemy code simply because you know what it's trying to do under the surface. It helps you debug those tricky situations where the generated SQL just isn't behaving right. Plus, this exact driver powers migration tools like Alembic, which relies on raw psycopg2 commands to modify your database's structure over time, something we're actually going to cover in an upcoming explainer.
So it really boils down to this golden rule. Default to your ORM for the vast majority of everyday application development. It's way more productive and inherently safer. But reach directly for psycopg2 when you genuinely need fine-grained control. Imagine you have a highly optimized, massively complex analytical query using advanced Postgres-specific features that your ORM just doesn't support. That is exactly when dropping down to psycopg2 gives you that raw performance by stripping away the ORM overhead.
Before we wrap up, let's lock in a few vital best practices. First, always use parameterized queries. Second, never directly concatenate raw external input into your SQL strings. Just don't do it. And third, always close your database connections and cursors when you're finished, or better yet, use Python's built-in context manager syntax to handle that cleanup automatically. Think of your database connections like borrowed tools. You should always put them back the second you're done. We've thoroughly explored the low-level relational engine that powers modern Python databases today. But are you ready to leave relational tables entirely behind? Because in our next explainer, we are diving straight into PyMongo, the official Python driver for MongoDB. It is a completely different database paradigm entirely, one that stores data in a totally different way compared to the strict, table-based systems we focused on today. If today's explainer helped you grasp how databases actually work under the hood, you're definitely going to want to stick around because we have so much more to uncover. Thanks for learning with me today.